today at the threshold of a great event, both in the life of the United Nations and in the life of mankind.
Eleanor Roosevelt was born October 11, 1884, in New York City to a very wealthy family. She was known as a shy child, and her mother and father passed away within 2 years of each other when she was just 10 years old. Her grandmother took care of her and sent her to Allenswood, a boarding school in England which helped her come out of her shell. Eleanor was always known to want to help people. Eleanor married her fifth cousin, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, on March 17, 1905, and had 6 children. In 1919, Eleanor volunteered at the International Congress of Working Women in Washington and at the St. Elizabeth Hospital to visit World War I veterans. During this time, women were urging for the right to vote, and the U.S. had just gotten involved in World War I. In 1920, she joins the League of Women's Voters, and on August 18, 1920, the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote, had been in effect. In 1921, FDR suffered a polio attack, causing Eleanor to step forward to help him with his political career. Eleanor believed that women could be an important part of politics, and as the wife of a rising political official, she was in a position to take advantage of this opportunity. Eleanor soon became a member of the Women's Trade Union League in 1922, and in 1926, she, along with Marion Dickerman and Nancy Cook, would purchase the Todd Hunter School, a girls' seminary in New York where Eleanor taught history and government. When FDR became president in 1933, Eleanor changed the face of the First Lady. In 1935, Eleanor coordinates a meeting with her husband, the lead of the Democratic National Committee, James Farley, and head of the Women's Division of the Democratic National Committee, Molly Dewson, to discuss the role of women in political elections. Also in 1935, she begins publishing the column My Day, which were her views on social and political issues, current and historical events, and her private and public life. Eleanor was not just interested in women's rights, but rights for all races as well. In 1936, she assists with the creation of the National Youth Administration and sets up meetings between her husband and the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People leader, Walter White, to discuss anti-lynching legislation. In 1945, Eleanor guided the Army Nurse Corps to allow black women in. She also joins the NAACP Board of Directors. On April 12, 1945, Franklin passes away. The following year, Eleanor becomes the head of the United Nations Human Rights Commission and begins to draft the Declaration of Human Rights. On December 10, 1948, the Declaration of Human Rights is passed by the United Nations. Following the success of the Declaration of Human Rights being created, Eleanor continued to support civil rights in the Democratic Party. In 1962, Eleanor monitors and reports on the efforts and progress of the fight for civil rights in the United States. On November 7th, she passes away from tuberculosis.
One nation was remiss in transmitting condolences at Mrs. Roosevelt's death. The impact of her loss brought expressions of sorrow even from Russia and other Iron Curtain nations. The severely simple stone that marks President Roosevelt's final resting place will soon bear the date of his widow's death. In the Rose Garden on the Roosevelt estate that she loved so much will rest the woman who had such a long and eventful life. In the hush of the hemlock-rimmed garden, the great and the humble stand in sorrow. The President and 2 former presidents, the head of the United Nations, ambassadors and other diplomats, her neighbors and her friends, cabinet members, and the town handyman. These were her friends. These are the people who are here to mourn.
Eleanor became known as the leader of what is called the liberal movement, also known as the do-gooders of the United States.
I would feel that a liberal was a person who kept an open mind, was willing to meet new questions with new solutions, and felt that you could move forward. You didn't have to always look backwards and be afraid of moving forward.
Without Eleanor taking advantage of her husband's political power, we may not have the Declaration of Human Rights, and we may still be fighting for a lot of equality we take for granted today.
So in fighting for those, we fight for peace.